All right. Let's get this party started. Hit the like button on the way in, hit the Cash App or the PayPal if you support the mission. Just last week, I did a broadcast. You can find it on YouTube. Just search Black Americans Indigenous Roots, Native Black American History. In that video, we did a live reaction to a video from a Native Black American chief, and he was dropping a lot of gems. That video was a pretty long interview, so I said we're going to do a part two. Today, we are now doing the part two. So let's go ahead and get into the content. You can find this video on YouTube. The original channel that produced it is 3 Milli Productions. It's called Black Americans Indigenous Roots, A Forgotten Legacy, featuring Chief Sekhu Hadjo Gentle. So let's go ahead and get into the content. This is a live call-in show as well, so don't hesitate to click the link and call in.
Why is it so hard for Black people here in America to accept that these people look just like you? And there's so much evidence out there that it's right in your face, whether it was the Cleveland Indians, Boston Braves at the time, they'll have a young Black child go out there with feathers on everything. But now, like, we can't even fathom that we can be indigenous to the same land.
Because of what you just started out the conversation with. Why is it so hard to believe, or for Black people to believe? Because that's what we do. We start out with that. Black.
Yep.
Right?
That's the terminology.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, what I like to say is real simple. Caleb, I owe you $1,000. I owe you $1,000. Next month, Caleb, I know I ain't paid you. I'm gonna make sure I get the $800 to you.
It's gonna start getting lower and lower,
right?
Yeah.
This is Black. When they said red man, matter of fact, I'll do one better for African American people. Light-skinned women was called what?
Red bone.
Oh, let's stop.
Copper-colored people. Yeah. Put a
called what?
Hand. Yeah.
Light skin.
Yeah.
Red. Right.
Right.
That's the truth of it. Even when it comes to the word Indian. The root word, I hear these brothers who are historically astute and self-taught, and they say, oh, the word Indian comes from indigenous. Wrong. Came from indigo. What is indigo? See, when you start getting to the root of a thing, the indigo is what they saw in the color of the people. So now when I look at my lighter skinned brothers and sisters, that's what I call them, you don't look indigo to me. You don't look red to me. Your hair isn't wavy, isn't copper tone. It's the same thing they did to Jesus. Yahshua HaMashiach, Emmanuel, whatever you want to name him, right? Yeah. The Bible, they put him right in front of everybody. They describe him completely.
They got a whole different picture.
Oh my God, what they say? Bronze.
Yes.
Burnt.
In a furnace.
Okay.
Hair like wool.
Okay, but we got images in Black churches all around the world of what?
It's a hippie.
White man, blue eyes.
Yeah.
Opposite to what we're being taught. And again, I'm not trying to step on people's toes, but I'm talking about let's take information and read it the way it is. This is why the book is translated. The word translate means to change. When you read something in its original language, when you go back to the root of it, Negro, Black. Anyone who's Spanish knows. Morenos.
Yep.
All means what?
Black.
Black.
Yeah.
But then we say, my shirt's black.
Shirt's black, yes.
My skin is, well, how would you define me?
It's red. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Go back to, I owe you $1,000, but it's $800 next month. This is the part of what I'm saying to those of us. Every Native American tribe I've met, every federal petition I've met, all use Jim Crow and the Plecker Law and eugenics and all the different things to argue their federal petitions. They have to identify as Negroes to be recognized as an Indian tribe. Think about that.
That's deep.
Southeast Indians that apply has to prove they have Negro in them to be recognized. Don't believe me? Look it up, check it out. My argument has always been them. Why is the Yamassee a problem? I can tell you why the Yamassee is a problem. Because we're the only tribe that look like we were identified. How do I fake being a Negro? They be like, oh, y'all pretendians. How do you fake being a Negro? This is a description of my people. How do I pretend to be something that I, quote, look like? But you're descendants of us. Let's do one better. They say Seminole, Seminole, Cimarron, Maroon. So I hear my Maroon brother say, oh, we're Maroons. To them, that equates to African. No, it doesn't. Cimarron, runaways, wild ones, the runaways. And you'll hear Seminole people say, no, that's not true. Well, I got links in our IG that says, yes.
They don't want for that to come out.
They don't want that to come out.
Yeah.
Because see, they don't know. They're still following the same oppressors that they say oppress them. They're following their information. Most of the websites and information you get in Native American tribes that it says oral tradition isn't oral tradition. It is a regurgitation of what the Europeans said.
It's written tradition. Yeah.
Right? But when we look at the word Seminole, runaway, you're going to tell me that those you see as Seminoles today look like Negroes on a slave plantation. That the colonists couldn't mistake them. Those my Negroes. You're going to tell me that the slave narratives inside of the court documentation, the judicial system that they have within the Lord proprietors, and all of the documentation that they have, which identified these as people as Negro that came off a ship, because that's what they did. They falsified paperwork. What do they call them? What is the terminology? I'm looking. I just had to come up with this the other day. Not the memoir, the manifesto.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, Aaron, he on it with the document.
I appreciate you.
That's gonna be
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you. So in the manifesto, it says from Africa, blah 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 blah. Right? So how do you, as this light-skinned brother, say that I look like my original people, I'm full-blooded, and you don't look like none of what they described your people as? But I can show you where the Creek people, all identified as Negroes. Matter of fact, I can even show you where books say the invention of the Creek Nation, which people hate when I do that.
Wow.
When I sat before Stephen Hahn and we had the 300th year anniversary for the Yamassee War, and the question was asked, it sounds like you're saying, what was the difference between a Creek and a Yamassee? And the man paused, and you could see him breathe like, I got to really answer this. He said there was none. Why? Because the Yamassee were identified as Negro. The word Creek was invented for the purpose of treaties. They could not beat the Yamassee. And this is truth. And this is something people can look up. From the Yamassee War of 1715, which is when the West Indian slave trade just coincidentally stopped.
Wow. To
the Seminole War and Third and Second Seminole War. Let's go back. What is a Seminole? A runaway. A Seminole. Runaways from the slave plantations. I mean, are we putting it together? Are we putting it together? It's why movie productions and documentaries are coming now and coming to us and coming to me and saying, hey, we need you in this, because they need to be factually correct.
Damn, I thought us Native Black Americans don't exist though, guys. I thought we're just Wabo pretendians, but here we are listening to an elder who's not just a Native Black American, but a chief of a tribe. I mean, let's share this video with all those folks that want to get triggered by us identifying with our indigenous roots.
Correct in their documentation, and it becomes a problem to people who say he don't look like us.
That's right.
He don't look like us. He's pretending. I can talk this way. I can do this. I speak the language. I can sit here and put on, a little Ebonics and sound like a native person. I can walk in the hood and I can sound hood. We got white people that walk in the hood. You can't tell them from a black person. You just close your eyes and listen to him. He sound like, right? Does that make him who he is? No. So yes, we can play the game if we wanted to. We have Yamassee people that look like modern day Indians, but they will tell you that I look this way because my ancestors was raped. That is the true acceptance.
Yeah,
that is the truth amongst people today. 2 years, 3 years ago, before COVID, we had the end of the world as we knew it. When everyone of color said enough is enough against people of color. Enough is enough. George Floyd changed the whole dynamics of the world.
That was major, yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Different countries, Native people, no one said anything derogatory against a person of color at that point. We're all team tired. COVID came in, separate, y'all, good. Y'all stay away from each other. And then everybody went right back to their typical racist way of thinking and ideology. It took that much for people to start forgetting what we first united for.
It's interesting because this chief is the only other person that I've heard acknowledge the fact that COVID was clearly a global governmental psyops. People around the world were rioting and protesting en masse, not just in America, but in Hong Kong. There were college students protesting an extradition policy. In France and Europe, they had the yellow vest protests. I mean, in Africa, there were the world citizens were rebelling against the ruling elite. So guess what? Now we got this COVID thing where like you can be sick, but you don't know that you're sick. So everybody got to stay inside and stay away from each other. I mean, it's interesting how only this Native Black American chief is the only other person that I've seen acknowledge that.
What we got tired of.
Wow.
And went back to the normal. So now you have people like myself and my people in my tribe and people who are searching for themselves, who now have to say that equality that you want now, Mr. Native Indian, is what we fought for and gave our lives for you. Because that's one thing they can never take away from the Yamassee, that we fought for no matter what color, no matter what ethnicity. Yes, we put people in slavery, but our slavery was different compared to theirs. But we fought for them. We was the first Coast Guard. See, that is a part of Black history people don't even know.
Wow.
We was the first Coast Guard for the North Atlantic region, the seaboard.
Say Black people are afraid of water though, right?
Oh, we Black, we afraid of water. Yeah. But as Creeks, we traveled up and down the water. Think about that one.
Wow.
We did that. So again, yeah, and that's why I was telling you before we started the interview. I have so much in my head and so much information that I have that I try to express, and not in ways that I'm dictating to people, but in ways that entices you to think and research for yourself. Don't take what Chief Sekou is saying. Go and research it for yourself.
Yes,
and if
sir.
you still doubt that, go to our Instagram page, and I try my best to provide as many links and information as I can so that you are guided. But stop taking the narrative and stop being embarrassed to be who you are.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I have Creek brothers and sisters that look white. I have Creek brothers and sisters who look modern day Indians, and I have Creek brothers and sisters who look like us. And I identified me as Chief, who thank me every day for sharing this message, because they know they cannot change the historical narrative. And they need me to be able to explain for them why they're Creek, why they're Yamassee, what happened. And those are the people we honor more than anything. Those who accept and say, yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, I look white, but my blood has Negro in it. So I apologize again.
Hey, we cooking up. I love this. Yamassee people, strong people, of course, fighting all of that. Andrew Jackson, what impact did he have on the men of the tribe, having to hide, change their names, all of that?
Most of the colonists' superheroes
Right.
are on the money.
Dang, that's true.
I like to say they banked on them. Let's do that. They banked on them. Literally. Right. So when you look at Andrew Jackson, who has a whole Yamassee region, Temukwa, Wale region, Jacksonville, named after him. Right. No one's saying let's change Jacksonville, but you're talking about one of the most racist men there was. What he did was what most typical white people did. What people don't realize in the colonial society was it was customary. We watch their videos and we watch their history, like the Game of Thrones and all different things, right? And you see men on men and things like that. That's fine. But this is what they did to men. They would take a man's manhood,
buck breaking, things like
100%.
that. Yeah.
But they went deeper than that. They would take the innocence of a child.
Wow.
This is who Andrew Jackson was. The same society that we have today, that if you went and slept with a little 13-year-old girl, you'd be in jail. They did.
Thomas Jefferson did that. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
The history of these people are something that we don't have to question. We know time and time again. The only thing we have to say, which is why we're looking at, as we learn history, they're trying to change the narrative of history. So we don't want you to tell the story of these people who made you as white people rich because you didn't have to do their work. Let's not tell that slave trade. I don't want to say no particular governor's name. Let's not tell that story because I don't want my children to feel guilty over something their ancestors did. But then you would turn around at the same time and acknowledge, memorialize African-American history, which means you accept that you were slaves. You accept that you did and were this to my people. But don't teach that ish to my children in school to make them feel bad about themselves, because white children now are waking up and saying, I come from this type of society where now I have to recognize people's rights and how they want to identify and who they are. But let's hide what my people did. So you're making the ultimate hypocrites. You want them to be the ultimate hypocrites. As long as we're together as two men, I should accept that. As long as we're together as two women, I can accept that. But what we did to Black people or African Americans, let's push that to the back. Think about that. This is what Andrew Jackson and the rest of these people did. This is the society they created. And as we move forward in a country who boasters, we're the most free country in the world.
Land of the free.
We're the most rich country in the world. We will suppress the history of the people and what we did to them because we don't want that thrown in our face. And it's what I tell people about the whole aspect of the historical Band-Aid. We keep putting a Band-Aid on something. It will never heal until we address what has happened to the suppressed people that we did it to. You're going to other countries today, and think about America as a society. We're going to other countries to give them freedom as slaves, but we hide the history of what we did to our slaves. That makes sense to everybody.
Democracy.
Oh, democracy. Democracy. And the hypocrites that we are, we accept that. We went over there and saved them people. They're free now. Their women have rights. And we ain't got rights. We don't have rights. An Asian person come over here, a Japanese person come over here and get any kind of racial discrimination or murdered or killed. There's money thrown at that community for that issue.
Yeah, very valid point. Shoot, a couple Asians got beat up in the Bay, and now they got a Stop Asian Hate Crime bill and shit. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting how other groups get certain leeways and government funding. I mean, we know right now we've got a bunch of Africans sneaking through the Mexico-U.S. border. They come over here go to a sanctuary city and they get free room and board.
And when one of us get killed, it's, well, what did he do to do it?
Mm.
Like, we don't walk into stores and we're not talked down to by Asian people who look at it a certain way, because America teaches, and this is documented. Go look it on TikTok. Go, y'all look it up, because now that's what digital side.
Yep.
Foreigners tell you that when we come over here, we're taught how bad black people are.
Like that, man. That's scary that you said that.
Come on, man.
I just saw that on TikTok.
Come on.
Yep.
We're taught how bad you are. So now they come here opening up businesses that you can't open.
Mm.
No money, no credit.
Mm.
And they'll talk down to you, but take your money.
And sell you your own.
And sell you your own hair products.
Wow.
We don't understand how messed up this is. Again, let me shut up because I'm causing problems.
Hey,
I'm trying to be here till I'm 90 or 120.
Hey, we're gonna make sure that you're gonna be good. Hey, you already protected.
That's what's up, family.
You already protected. But that's powerful. Yamassee tribe as well had a lower and upper chieftain. How massive was this tribe?
Our tribe, the Yamassee tribe, had the largest chieftain. Matter of fact, before, you can look this up, before there was ever a Cherokee upper and lower region, there was the Yamassee upper and lower region. Right now, we've calculated there was well over 400 towns and villages that spanned from the top of North Carolina. People fail to realize there was, see, they tried to do, oh, they're from South Carolina, and no, there was no South Carolina, there was the Carolinas originally.
That is
right.
Yep.
And then it expanded over to Alabama, Louisiana, all the way down to Florida.
Wow.
Right? So we went from almost the Midwest all the way over to the Southeast. Why is it no one's questioning? Why don't the Native American people in the Southeast, the Lumbee, name them, right? The Catawba, any of these tribes, Seminole people, why they don't look like the Lakota, the Apache?
On the West Coast.
Yes.
Got you.
Right? That confederacy. We had a unique identity. The Yamassee had one of the largest confederacies there is. And people don't understand that. Why was the Yamassee War so detrimental? Why was it considered the bloodiest war? See, they'll stop and say, when we went, we started out with 19,000 of us. So you mean to tell me 19,000 Yamassee? And people will say, oh, it wasn't just 19,000 Yamassee. It was a conglomeration of different tribes that helped the Yamassee. No, that's not what Oglethorpe and Craven said. They said all these are Yamassee. That's documented. But 19,000 people, I bring all my brothers and warriors, all you all who's watching this, and I say, we're going to go to war.
And you know what? It's interesting that he's harping on this right now, and I think I should do a dedicated stream to this in the future. But I recently learned that not only are major highways, cities, roads, etc., really on top of areas that were already paved by indigenous tribes. For example, there were mound builders. They had trading routes, different trails, and then modern day, you know, the immigrants come over here and they build their roads on it, and you know, we'll build a city hall on top of the mountain type shit, right? But it's interesting how also the modern American government, to a degree, was modeled after how indigenous tribes controlled their different confederacies. I mean, what do we call the president? The commander in chief? I mean, guys, don't take my word for it. Look it up. Do your own research. But there is an interesting parallel between the governmental structure of indigenous tribes and how this new American democracy thing, which is a brand new invention, right? This didn't come from Europe. This didn't come from Africa. This was invented, quote unquote, invented here in America. And it's eerily similar to how these indigenous folks ran their communities. Did you know that?
Or you're just twiddling your thumbs at 19,000. We only killed 400 white people, though, in Charleston.
No.
So it took 19,000 people to kill 400 people.
No.
It wasn't considered the bloodiest war because of their numbers. What they could not do is never look like they were the victims. That's right. Which is why our name was also written out of history. Which is why there was no longer Yamassee. We became known as Creek. We're no longer Creek. We became known as Seminoles. You see? Again, back to it's always going to go back to the paper genocide.
Wow.
Because they knew at this point, at some point, people gonna read. And they're gonna see these Negro Indians that wreaked havoc. And then you'll go back to the Seminole history and you'll pull up these Indians who are not identified as African or Black Seminoles, and they are looking dynamically Black. And you'll say, the Yamassee were identified as Negroes in the late 1900s. They still had Seminoles who looked like Negroes. And these are the same Negroes that was fighting. It changes the dynamics and the way of thinking. That we are a warrior society that was peaceful, but we looked a certain type of way. That Confederacy spanned, and you will see it within the realm of the ancient text and identity amongst the Catawba, who people says The Yamassee are my ancient people. The Cherokee, who has several chiefs that when it came time to go to war, said, those are my ancient people. What do they mean by ancient people? You have ancient people in your bloodline. That's why you're here, right?
Yes, sir.
You got to look like them.
Because I came from them.
Because I came from them. So, my point is that it goes way deeper than most people think. And I'm really trying to give enough information that allows them to take contextual portions of what I'm saying. And if they don't get nothing else, oh, that hits home. Oh, that's something I remember him saying. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, wow, let me look that up. I try to give enough information that we can take little bits and pieces. And I hope that everyone, comes back and eventually play this podcast back and don't just listen to it, watch it, take notes,
for sure.
Come back, watch it. Damn it, if it takes you making this podcast 1 million views, do that, because there's so much that I'm sharing that you can research for yourself that will give you information. The biggest dishonor we can give to our ancestors is forgetting them. Think about the way they lived back then. Your grandmama and great-grandmamas. Your great-grandmother may have been born in the 1940s or 50s. Your great-grandmother, right? Your grandmother might have been born in the 1970s.
Yeah, y'all do know me as the king of receipts, so why don't we get into a little bit of receipts, shall we? I mean, I made the very charged statement earlier that American democracy was modeled after natives, and like Rap says, yeah, Mike, the government today will tell you they modeled the democratic paradigm off the Iroquois, and it goes back to the 1100s. Yeah, y'all, let's go ahead and take a little side quest, shall we? Let's go ahead and take a little side quest if we can. I'll go ahead and bring up a receipt. We'll do a little bit of reading. We understand reading is oh so fundamental.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere, friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow.
Oh, yes, let's do a little bit of reading. Reading is oh so fundamental. It says right here, the Native American government that helped inspire the U.S. Constitution. The constitutional framers may have viewed indigenous people of the Iroquois Confederacy as inferior, but that didn't stop them from admiring their Federalist principles. Let's get into it, y'all. Y'all know me as the king of receipts, right? When the delegates to the Constitutional Convention met in 1787 to debate what form of the government the United States should have, there was no contemporary democracies in Europe from which they could draw inspiration. The most democratic forms of government that any of the convention members have personally encountered were those of Native American nations. Of particular interest was the Iroquois Confederacy, which historians have argued wielded a significant influence on the U.S. Constitution. Guys, we are known as the greatest nation in the world. Why? Based off of our governmental structure. And did you know that they got that governmental structure from the Aboriginals of the land? What evidence exists that the delegates studied native governments? Descriptions of them appear in the 3-volume handbook John Adams wrote for the convention, surveying different types of governments and ideas about government. It included European philosophers like John Locke and Montesquieu, whom U.S. history textbooks have long identified as constitutional influences. But it also included the Iroquois Confederacy and other indigenous governments, which many of the delegates knew through personal experience. Quote, you had the Cherokee chiefs having dinner with Thomas Jefferson's father in Williamsburg. And then in the northern area, of course, you had this Philadelphia interaction with the Delaware and the Iroquois, says Kirk Kickenberg, a lawyer, member of the Kiowa tribe, and co-author with Lynn Kickberg of Indians and the United States Constitution, A Forgotten Legacy. Since the U.S. had trade and diplomatic relationships with native governments, Kickenberg says, thinking the constitutional framers weren't familiar with them is like saying, gosh, I didn't know the Germans and the French knew each other. Similarities and differences between the Iroquois Confederacy and the U.S. Constitution. The Iroquois Confederacy was in no way an exact model for the U.S. Constitution. However, it provided something that Locke and Montesquieu couldn't, a real-life example of some of political concepts the framers were interested in adopting in the U.S. Come on, y'all, let's talk about it. The Iroquois Confederacy dates back several centuries to when the Great Peacemaker founded it by uniting 5 nations: the Mohawks, the Onondaga, the Cayuga, the Wanda, and the Seneca. And around 1722, the Tuscarora Nation joined the Iroquois, also known as the Haudenosaunee. Hey, as an indigenous man myself, I am butchering these names. Together, these 6 nations formed a multi-state government while maintaining their own individual governance. This stacked government model influenced constitutional framers' thinking, said Donald, a professor of transnational studies at the University of Buffalo, member of the Yamassee Nation, and co-author with Bruce. The constitutional framers cite the Iroquois and other native governments as examples of federalism, he says. Marriage and divorce is taken care of right in the village. It's not a thing that the national government or the chiefs have to do with. Each tribe might have its own issues, but the Iroquois Confederacy is about unification through mutual defense, and it conducts foreign affairs. The chiefs of the 6 nations were hereditary rulers, something the framers wanted to avoid given their grievances with Britain's King George III. Still, the framers did seek to borrow aspects of Iroquois government that enabled them to assert the people's sovereignty over vast geographic expanses, since they found no governments in Europe with these characteristics. And finally, Congress has formally recognized the Iroquois influence. The fact that many of the framers looked to native governments for inspiration didn't stop them from viewing native people as inferior. This disconnect is evident in a 1751 letter from Benjamin Franklin describing the need for the 13 colonies to form a, quote, voluntary union, similar to that of the Iroquois Confederacy. Come on, y'all, come on. Quote, it would be a very strange thing if 6 nations of ignorant savages should be capable of forming a scheme for such a union and be able to execute it in such a manner as that it has subsisted ages and appears indissoluble. Hold on, am I butchering that? Indissoluble. There we go, indissoluble. And yet that like union should be impracticable for 10 or a dozen English colonies to whom it is more necessary and must be more advantageous, and who cannot be supposed to want an unequal understanding of their interests. Damn, this is a backwards ass compliment, y'all. This is a backward ass compliment. It was tough to even get through reading that backwards ass compliment. So Benjamin Franklin was like, hey, why can't us colonies get it together if these savage ass natives can get it together, right? I mean, y'all, this is interesting, but above all else, I wanted to take a quick side quest to hip you to the fact that our government got a lot of its structure from the aboriginals of the land, and I think that that's something that is lost on many people modern day. But we're going to talk about it over here on Mike TV. Let's get into it. Let's go.
It's because of your age. Yeah. But your great-great-grandmother was born in 1900s, and in 1900s, they were still hanging black people.
Yeah, actually, my great-grandmother, she was born in 1916.
So there you go.
And she would have those stories about lynchings and all of that.
And lynchings and things like that.
Yep.
So we walk today amongst ourselves where our biggest adversary is ourselves. We're more worried about ourselves than we are worried about them, because they have now allowed us to kill ourselves. But there was a point in time in your bloodline where walking past a white person or looking them in their eyes or even having a conversation with them could get you killed. Now, take out electricity, take out cars, take out internet, take out mobile phones, take out gas, propane, take out all the conveniences that we have that our ancestors had to survive in without. And then tell me they don't deserve acknowledgement? That it's not your duty to find out who you are? It's not your duty to honor your ancestors, because if you exist today, that means somebody existed then, and that their struggle was not your struggle that you're crying and bitching about? That every time our women had children, they didn't have doctors. They didn't have people that, it's going to be okay, and pop them in their back with an epidural and stuff like that. No. They had to have babies in the middle of wars. They had to have babies in lakes and creeks where alligators and where blood attracted these animals. They had to have babies during times where they was in transit for freedom. And you mean to tell me they're not worthy of you honoring them and researching them? How dare you? How dare you? While you live comfortably in your designer clothes and your lives.
Yeah.
How dare you? The greatest honor you can give your ancestors is to say, I remember you, grandmother. I appreciate what you did. Thank you. You may not know the whole story, just knowing a piece of that story, knowing that the time she lived in, because again, we are not here. We keep forgetting this. We are not here if we did not have an ancestor who lived in the days and times that we read about. That is what it is to be Native. That is what it is to be an Indian. Ceremony for us isn't running around dancing and yelling, and all this. No. It's remembering our ancestors and what they did to survive. It's taking ourselves out the elements, taking ourselves away from cell phones, modern stuff, getting out there in the circle, understanding their dynamics, understanding what they was doing it for, what they was praying for, what they was hoping to invoke, and honoring them. Amongst our people, we have green corn. It's our new year. Our new year is us honoring the first corn, the first ripening of fruits and vegetables. Us asking the Creator, us paying homage to the Creator, that He bestows upon us a fruitful year, no war, no death, being able to hunt, the deer being plentiful, the beavers being plentiful, fish being plentiful, right? Invoking animal spirits that made us better hunter-gatherers. See, we don't understand what it is. And see, they've made it so mystic and, oh, you're dishonoring my people, and why are you, get out of here. We understand the dynamics of what was really going on. So when we go into ceremony, we're honoring our ancestors. And so much of what your ancestors are is passed on through African-American society. They don't even realize it. New Year. What do you do in the new year, guys?
Collard greens.
Oh, you clean your house. Make sure everything clean, right?
Black eyed peas.
Black eyed peas. You put up. Okay, I can tell you 100. You come to green corn, it's the same thing we do. We just don't do it in the Gregorian year. That's his new year. We're doing practices out of sync when we were doing it. It's the same thing Native people do. That is green corn. You introduce new babies, family members. Everybody meet who? Big Mama. Because we're a matrilineal society. She runs the tribe. Right?
That's not a coincidence.
There's no coincidences. You clean your house. Make sure your house is clean. Because they say if you come into the new year.
Bad spirits.
Okay.
Too many correlations.
That's a tribal thing. We just.
And you know what? Speaking of the Iroquois influence on the American government, I want to bring up another thing, this link that Rap just shared with me, because this link is very interesting. I'm a student of world history, and although they have behaved savagely and barbaric in more than one way, I have always held the Mongols in high regard. And the reason why I held the Mongols in high regard was because what Genghis Khan was able to do was unify all the different Mongol clans, right? He was able to unify them and create a vast empire, but God damn it, I can't big up the Mongols no more when I got an even better shining example of unity, because when it comes to the Iroquois nation, when it comes to the peace that they achieved, they didn't have to go waging war and killing people and enslaving people to achieve the unity like the Mongols did. It says here, the great peacemaker brought peace to the 5 nations. It says Lyons is the faith keeper of the Turtle Clan of the Seneca Nations and a member of both the Onondaga and the Seneca Nations of the Iroquois Confederacy. Guys, the Iroquois Confederacy was 5 different nations of people coming together to form unity. At that time, the nations of the Iroquois had been enmeshed in continuous intertribal conflicts. The cost of war was high and had weakened their societies. The great peacemaker and the wise Hiawatha, chief of the Onondaga tribe, contemplated how best to bring peace between the nations. They traveled to each of the 5 nations to share their ideas for peace. A council meeting was called, and Hiawatha presented the great law of peace. It united the 5 nations into a League of Nations, or the Iroquois Confederacy. God damn it, this sounds like the Declaration of Independence, y'all. This sounds like drafting the Bill of Rights. Oh my God. Hey, I'm glad that Rap sent me this receipt, because now instead of bigging up the Mongols, I can big up the Native Black Americans that really created the only example I see of ending intertribal conflict, creating unification without any bloodshed. It didn't say that one tribe went and conquered the other tribe and then conquered the other 3 tribes and then forced them to be unified. Nah. The great peacemaker went to the 5 different tribes. He said, look, here's a great law of peace I want to get together. They said, okay, it's all in our best interest. Let's be peaceful. Let's be unified. Okay. All right. All right. Let's get into the history, y'all. Let's go. And hit the like button on the way in. Hit the Cash App or the PayPal if you support the mission. Let's keep on with the content.
It exists during their time of doing it. Again, I'm here to cause problems.
Hey, we're gonna keep causing those problems. Y'all, make sure, man, y'all are taking notes. Big Mama, right? We have movies like Soul Food. Growing up, my family till this day, I think we're on our 63rd consecutive year of family reunions every single time. But hearing your story, previous interviews, sit downs, talking about powwows 2 to 3 times a year. Black families still have those, right? So how can we correlate and like understand, hey, we still have those same traditions, ideologies. It's just we were told something different.
We just did. The thing that it's not even correlated no more. We are now individualizing our lives to the point where me, I don't have time, me,
yeah,
right.
Separate.
And so we're looking now for acceptance from people not even related to us. See, the ceremony is now stopping. The family, the tribal unit is separating. We used to sit back, and this is within my time frame. I'm not that old, you know what I mean? I'm only 35, sort of, kind of, which is a lie, everybody. I'm not 35. But I grew up in a time where, of course, traditionally, as Yamassee, we did it. But we also watched other people come together every Sunday and have what?
Sunday dinner.
Yeah.
When
the last time you've been to a family Sunday dinner? Every Sunday of the month.
Yep. Long time.
Most of us don't even do family reunions no more. We see each other on Facebook.
Yeah, that's it. Sunday dinner, I know for me personally, it's probably like once a month max. Wow.
So we're getting away from our traditions, and this is a plight amongst all Native people. The argument now with Native people is they're losing their youth. They're losing their customs tradition. See, the U.S. government has just plotted, and I can't make this up. Look it up again. They're saying in another 20, 30 years, there won't be a full-blooded Indian or no one that can be considered Indian anymore.
Wow.
Because what Native tribes say, which is what I want people of color to understand, you may be able to prove that you are tied to a historic tribe. You may be able to prove through Dawes Rolls, Freeman Rolls, or whatever rolls, Miller Rolls, whatever they're using, that you are connected to Cherokee, Seminole, Creek. You know what their thing is? Oh, well, if you don't practice your traditions, you're not Indian no more. You might well say you're black or you're white.
So it's not about the bloodline anymore.
And that's important to us. We need to understand that. Get back into your family traditions. Start honoring and recognizing your ancestors. Start having the family dinners. Start reconnecting as a unit. Because we're all going to get older. I don't give a damn how well you look now.
It's nature. Yeah.
You're going to get older.
Yeah.
And your values and what you believe in now, and this video probably will be another 100 years. Hopefully someone's playing this back. Everything you believe in now will not apply when you become 40, 50, 60 years old if you live that far. You're going to want the acceptance. You're going to want to be recognized for you being able to continue on when your friends and family members were dying through improper health, through going out and gangbanging, through car accidents. You want that acknowledgement to be called grandmama, grandpa, papa, mama, nana, whatever. You only can live on if you're acknowledged for your accomplishments, because the world isn't getting easier, it's getting worse. The world that we live in today, at my age, I would have never foresaw happening. What makes this message powerful that I have, and why we're picking up so many people, and someone recently said, why are we trending? Because my trend is family unity. Even if I die tomorrow, people are catching on that it's about unity. I don't care if you're white, black, Hispanic, Latino. We have all of those dynamics within the Yamassee people. But the question that I'm saying to everyone now is, get past that BS. They're telling us now there's aliens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what happened when there's an alien invasion? You think your color's gonna matter?
Nah, it's gonna be human.
It's gonna be human.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna see color? Yeah, hey, brother. You gonna see a white man's calling you brother, Indian brother calling you?
You're gonna need some help.
We all need help, damn it. But they are technologically more advanced than us.
That's right. That's right.
So let's get there now. Let's start that journey now. Let's honor our ancestors now. Let's pay homage to our ancestors now. This is the Native way. This is the way of thinking. This is the way of being in tune with the world today. Regardless to whatever I say, no matter how you take whatever I said and internalize it, and you say, damn, these people did this to our people, and you want to make this a racial thing. No, stop all that. What I'm saying to you is take the history, learn, understand it, identify yourself, stop looking for approval, but then let's Voltron up. Let's unify.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're more powerful doing this than we are doing this.
That's right.
We do this, we can have whatever we want. And this is not a American thing. I'm talking about the world. When we can do this, when we can do this, and it's be inseparable. When our women can start acknowledging the hardships of our men, the warriors, the ones that we sent out to battles. When we start acknowledging, see, that's a tribal thing. The matriarchs, the women. Men will give their lives. You don't have to have one baby from your girlfriend or your mate. But you, when that, baby, what's that? I don't know.
Go check.
You're going to go check. You're going up to give your life up. That's what an Indian would do. That's a warrior.
Wow.
No gun, Let's
Straight
knuckle up,
boss, yeah,
straight knuckle, right?
That's it. Yes, sir.
But
Yeah.
what you're doing, you're giving her a chance to do what?
Run away if she needs to.
So our women have to start doing the right thing by our brothers.
Mm.
When you have a real man that's willing to give his life for you, your children, your existence, love him, acknowledge him. Brothers, when you have a real woman that has your back, or women that have your back, acknowledge them, give them what they need. Easier said than done because we get caught up in me.
Yep.
Me. But this podcast don't exist basically on you.
No.
This podcast, I'm looking at the brothers and sisters that's in here.
That's impossible.
It's impossible. We're more powerful as a unit than we are ever separated. And we are together because we believe in a thing. Those people who are here now believe in this. So what happens when it...
And that is another indigenous tradition that modern day Black Americans still hold near and dear. We have a certain level of being on code, right? I mean, I'm from the West Coast. There's Black folks in the Midwest. There's Black folks on the East Coast. If I was to go to any other territory, regardless of whether I'm related to these people or they're a part of my community or not, if I see any mistreatment, I'm going to speak up or advocate for them. We have these certain things we do where we could be overseas somewhere, we can be in London. But if I see another Black American and you see me and we see each other, we're going to give each other a little nod, a little acknowledgement. I mean, there's a sense of unity that we just instinctually have because that's a part of our native Black American culture. Africans, on the other hand, xenophobic, tribalistic, no sense of unity.
It goes beyond podcasting because now we're part of the movement. Every one of y'all are part of the movement. You cannot not hear this. What happens when we start thinking outside of the podcast and start saying every conversation we need to have from this point on needs to be about that solidarity? Because if I have 1,000 people.
Aboriginal Americans did what? They let anybody rock with the tribe for the most part. Pilgrims come over, we see you starving, you begging. Hey, we're going to help you out. We're going to teach you how to plant some things. We hear that there's some African slaves fleeing plantations. Hey, you can join us. You can be a part of our tribe. You can marry our daughters. Damn. It's interesting how even modern day, we're still so accepting. If you live in the hood, you got white people that grow up in the ghetto and Black folks accept them so much to where they drop in the N-bomb, they talking in Ebonics and shit. I mean, we are also accepting of letting people come and be a part of our culture. That's something that's indigenous to us.
All saying and utilizing and recognizing the Yamassee. If I have 1,000 people that just give $1, not 50, not 100, not 10, just one. That's $1,000 a month times 12.
12,000. Yeah.
That we use. Not just off $1.
Wow.
See, the dynamics change when we start and stop thinking too big and start thinking big enough. This is the message of the Yamassee people. This is what we are really doing. This is who we are. This is what we did in the 1700s. This is what we did in the 1400s when they met us. This is what we did when they met our people on the shores and we taught them, showed them how to hunt, how to farm, how to stay safe. We have never changed as Yamassee people. That's why we was considered the fiercest of warriors. It wasn't just fighting, knuckling up, bows and arrows. The fierceness came because we had the ability to unite people through conversation. My ancestors said, hey, we can't keep doing this. We're taking the L's. At some point in time, they will want the Yamassee to have no more land than a turkey can fly over. And if people ain't familiar with a turkey, turkeys don't fly that far. And that's what they did. That's what the war was about. That we gave and we gave and we gave and we fought and we fought and we fought and we believed and we believed. Some of us believed you all. Some of us believe, with the British. Some people believe the Spanish. Some people believe the French. We gave, and y'all just kept taking to the point where it just disrupted. It just came too much. Because I can only poke you in your head too many times before you as a man, no matter how passive you are.
You're gonna snap.
I'm gonna snap.
Yeah.
I'm gonna snap. And in summary, that snap eventually like, oh, we can't beat them. We gotta write them out because our money is stopping now. Oh, y'all can't beat them? Oh, we can't send no money. We're not gonna. And so that's what happened. But we as the Yamassee people, the message that we're giving is still about unity. This whole thing that we did today was about historical narratives that lead up unto still unity, reconnecting with ourselves, paying homage to our ancestors, paying homage to your truth and your reality. But stop wanting to do it and trying to be by yourself doing it.
That's right. That's right. Chief, you killed this. My very last question on the way out because you've been so gracious with your time.
Thank you.
90+ minutes, man. Thank you.
Come on, y'all. Hit the like button if you're new to the broadcast, hit the Cash App or the PayPal if you support the mission. Put a 1 in the chat if you learned something new in this broadcast. I know I learned something new. Let's go.
DNA test, right? So many quote unquote Black people take these tests, but we don't listen to that oral history of Big Mama. And on those tests, 9 times out of 10 for, again, quote unquote Black people will be Nigerian, West African, and it's mixed with this percentage, that percentage. But me looking at you, you looking at me, you don't say, oh, he's 20% this, 30% that.
Right.
Should we believe these tests? And second part of this question as well, according to these tests as well, why is it that the natives on the West Coast aren't as dark as the ones in the South? Is that an environmental or a climate thing, or how did that whole process start? Too?
All right, so you had several different questions.
Right.
Oftentimes, the way the questions are formed, it's hard to really itemize each one.
Right.
One of the things is, let's talk about the genetic test. First and foremost, this ain't something I made up. This is something that's online that people can research. When you look at Mr. Gates and the rest of these guys, there is an ongoing video on YouTube and TikTok where they talk about, you know, the fallacy behind genetic testing. Okay, they openly say that it is like a what do they call that when you novelty? Because here's the thing: for someone to identify Yamassee, meaning that they would have to have the blood of my people back in the 1700s that they can test my blood against now.
Yep.
Right. The blood that's being used is people who are identifying as Native today. Why is it that synonymously Native American always coincidentally have Asian in it?
Ethnicity, entertainment value only, entertainment value only, entertainment value only, entertainment value only.
William Gilliland is a biology professor at DePaul. He says DNA kits can be great for connecting family members and finding relatives, but the science for ethnicity testing isn't as concrete.
There's nothing that confident for ethnicity. There's no diagnostic nucleotide. You can say this person is from Europe, this person's from Africa.
It's exciting to make discoveries like this, but if they're not true, it's heartbreaking.
And so with the help of my wife, we extracted enough saliva to send off in the mail. We were so excited to see the results. After about 3 months, we were shocked. My lizard was 51% Ashkenazi Jewish. He was also 48% West Asian. This was really interesting. They also gave us a little bit of his background and his history, what he liked to eat, etc. Let us know which animal's DNA we should send in next.
Come on, y'all. I just had to give the chief a little bit of an alley-oop, you know. I had to give him a little bit of an alley-oop. You can slam dunk it now. And shout out to New Era. New Era is the one that that put me onto that video. Appreciate the receipt, brother.
Native American / Asian. Matter of fact, when I got my my voter's registration card, which is supposed, my driver's license has Native American because they don't put that in the system no more. It used to have black and white and all stuff. Now it just says your name and all stuff. But inside the system, they identify you. Mine says Native American, but my voter's card said Asian because that's what it translates to, because that is the dynamics and that is the template that they're using today. Now, why is that? Because they've proven, and you can YouTube this and find it for yourselves. Look it up. There's a YouTube video circulating where they talk about the real Native Americans. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's what it's called, who were the first people. And they talk about, then they show the powwows and those running around now. And if you notice, an Asian can put on a headdress, powwow, regalia, and stuff like that, and pass as a Native American, because those are the Mongoloids that came in from Siberia, that came over through the continent or the land bridge. Now, let's do one better. Let's make common sense. We were all to school. And when we went to school, they talked about the continent, and it was called a Greek word, Pangea.
Yeah, it was all connected.
So it's all connected. And here's what I tell people in every conversation. You're believing that as the world separated, that everyone that was African ran to Africa. We all got together.
All the black people just
ran to Africa.
Wow.
All the Asian people ran to Asia. All the European people ran to Europe. Even though science has proven, and I'm just going to use this loosely because there's an older now genetic or genome that's been proven, but it still always goes back to a black woman. Science has proven that everyone came from one person called Lulu Amalou, Lucy.
Yeah, it was Lucy. That's right.
Now they have an older bone that they found as well. I don't know the purpose behind this because it may be now a white person because that's what they like to do, plays games. But at this point in time, DNA, mitochondria, which everyone needs to know, mitochondria is the oldest, right?
That's right.
DNA that you can find within the women, which is why men, and I hate to deal with everybody's ego, men are defective women. Because a woman is an X chromosome, right? And men are XY. And we are XY based on a broken or a defective chromosome. Okay. So there's a genetic proof that everyone is connected to one woman. Why do we? Let's do one better. West African never existed. There is not a genetic person that exists in West Africa. That's a terminology used.
Yeah.
It is a place and a region. How do I prove that you have West African in you?
Oh, a made name too. Yeah.
On a made up name.
Wow.
Yeah. They say, oh, well, whatever is in the West African coast, your DNA, because our environment determines where we are,
right,
is inside of that genetic makeup, right? Which now doesn't make sense to me, because if you're using the genetics of an environment, meaning that the air quality, the trees that are only exist in West Africa, the pollen, the dirt, the sand, all this is within my DNA because we have genetic markers inside of us. If that don't exist there, but you can find out that I have 45% West African in me and 10% Sub-Saharan, is that their favorite thing, or Asian, why is it that my ancestors were here, according to you, 400 years and I'm not American?
Dang. By this point, yeah.
Oh,
it's almost half of 1,000 years.
Hold on. Because I am what my ancestors was, where they lived, what they breathed, what they ate. Those are genetic markers, right? You break your bone right now, guess what? Your child have that scar in his DNA where that bone was broken.
Wow.
Right?
Correct.
If I'm wrong, y'all please stop me. So if we've been here for the last 400 years, how do you say I'm majority West African over something? And if we do our playbacks, and I'm not saying this, I'm not gonna say this right, I forgot, it was so many, I think 8 generations is 276, and my numbers are wrong, so please forgive me, but 8 generations back is 276 people. Maybe 226, 224. But y'all know that 8 generations is a whole lot of back. Why is that DNA more dominant in your DNA test? And you're talking about that branch, that tree, mom, dad, mom's mom, dad, mom, dad, dad, mom, dad, mom, mom, dad, right? You get what I'm saying? Right. And it just gets larger and larger, but then it gets less and less, right? The more we add water to something, it dilutes it.
That's correct.
So how the hell is my DNA coming back 45% of something from a country that I haven't been in for over 400 years?
Wow.
I'll leave you to think about that.
And pay for that too.
And pay for
the
that.
same people who
pay for that
to tell
and
you
pay
where they
for
stole
that.
you from.
100%.
Wow.
100%. Wow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, that is and this is a very rudimentary answer. It's very simplistic in nature. I'm not a scientist by far, you know what I mean? But I'm using common sense in this, and I'm using what they do say they use in order to identify. And I want people to understand the dynamics of it. But more than anything, investigate. Investigate. You're giving your money to someone or something to identify you, to prove who you are. When the Native tribes and Native American people, they don't do that. You know how they do it?
How do they do it?
Who's your grandmama?
Simple.
Real simple.
Wow.
Who's her mother?
All right, cool.
Oh, so you're 119th, 164th, blah, blah, blah. I done met white people who say, oh, I'm 164th Cherokee, and they hold cards.
Man. That kills me.
I have not met a white person yet who ain't had an Indian or Cherokee Indian princess. So all y'all related? Oh, my grandmother was I don't know how true this is. She's an Indian princess. I'm Cherokee. Now I know my skin is white and da. And then I say, well, yeah, I'm Seminole. I'm Yamassee. Oh, y'all mixed breed? I didn't ask you, was you mixed breed? Are you African and black?
Because there's no way he could be Native. Wow. Indoctrination.
Come on, tell me that isn't a paradox right there. That's an interesting dynamic. You can be pale as a motherfucker running around talking about you Native, but as soon as one of us say we Indian, they call us a wabo or pretendian. They say we just insecure about being African. Okay. All right.
Indoctrination, because again, they will grow up watching the same Western movies, right? See, I'm always gonna go back. I'm a songwriter, so I'm gonna take it back to you. You know, so no, you know me. Honestly, we live in a world now today. We can question, we can ask questions, and everything that you want now is right before you. This ain't not something Chief Cool's making up. This is stuff that everything I said to you, you can go look out for yourself.
That's right.
And there's gonna be debates on, because you got people who want to believe the narrative, and I'm a Boondocks fan, so
that's my favorite show, man.
Uncle Ruckuses, you got your Uncle Ruckuses, right? Greatest thing ever happened was a white man. I get it, right? But then you have the people who say, and believe this truly, there is less of those naysayers than there are people who are astute. There is more historical information that can prove everything I've said than there is people who can disprove it.
That's right.
But all it takes is one person to set you in motion to make you think against what you've been taught.
That's right.
And the most powerful thing ever happened was when I did a documentary called By Any Other Name, okay, from Kennesaw College. Stephen Gale did it.
Oh, wow.
And he brought in his genealogists, the biologists, the archaeologists, anthropologists. Something one of them said was so powerful. He said, every picture you see of a Black Indian, that is historical evidence. He said, every oral conversation you have about your grandmothers or your grandfathers is oral evidence. It's how we tie in to the history that we're seeing documented by the settlers. We was recently invited by an archaeologist, who was, uncovering pottery and things of that nature of our people. And she said, well, we call this And we call this, and it's just a rudimentary term that archaeologists use when we really don't know what it is. So now I'm saying, well, this makes more sense for my people to do this than this. And this is why she needed us there, to be able to say, instead of making an assumption, because 90% of science and history is assumptions.
Yeah, it's all theoretical.
It's all theoretical,
yeah.
right? Yeah. There is no need to rewrite a book about the Yamassee from Florida to South Carolina if definitively the Yamassee no longer exists. But when you start taking, and these historians say, we're not pushing that narrative anymore because everything we read now through all the memoirs of all the different people living in different areas, so the Yamassee do exist. So now what do? The historians do? They take all these memoirs and they go to all these different areas and they take this information and then they backtrack the oral history,
quote it,
and stories of the people to put together the new narrative and the new truth.
That's right.
So now they're saying, not what I'm saying, I know who I am. The Yamassee aren't extinct. They were just renamed. I didn't make this up. They're doing more research than me. And that's what we're saying now. Pay attention to what's happening. There is no need for anthropologists or genealogists to rewrite history or get a grant to redo information that is 100% solidified as facts.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. What we're learning now today is everything that their ancestors thought was factual isn't factual. We're now learning more. The natives knew of the star constellation before we ever knew it.
That's right.
Oh, the natives, which was pagans, were saying trees have life. They were pagans. They believed in things and animals who had spirits.
Tree huggers now.
And now, what are they doing? Yeah. Everything that the native people were sharing with them, they're revisiting and saying, oh, wow, they had something here. They got something.
Herbalists now, too.
Herbalists. Yeah. So, no, you know what I mean? Let's rethink and let's reevaluate the way we think. Let's stop taking old information and making it applicable in our facts. Now we are in a point in time to where we don't even understand the dynamics of being able to read because we don't read no more. We're now looking at TikTok shorts and our attention span is that big because we're looking for value and things that only is giving us that endorphin rush for 15 seconds. And we're scrolling up, we're going to stop all that. The greatest thing you can ever do is find out who you are. The greatest thing you can ever do is find out who your people were. The biggest honor you can ever do and the blessing that you can get is through acknowledging them. There is nothing I did myself. Everything that has happened for the Yamassee people through me is because I gave myself to my ancestors to say, whatever you want from me, whatever you need me to do, let's go. I walked away from a music industry and millionaire status. I had a choice. I could have got back in. I was given an option. It was making millions or making history.
That's a bar. Chief, you bodied this interview.
Thank you, brother.
Next time, if it's later, if it's sooner, and we got to have a part 2 of this because 100%. I still have 10 million more questions.
Come on, y'all. Shout out to the chief. Shout out to the chief. Y'all make sure to share this video. I mean, they claim we're pretendians, yet there we are listening to a black chief talk about our indigenous history. Come on. If you're watching the replay, leave #replaygang in the comments section. You guys that are on the live stream, don't go anywhere. As soon as this broadcast ends, there's going to be a 10-second countdown on the screen, and the next broadcast is going to start automatically. We got one more prepared for you guys today. I'll see you over there in just a moment. Don't touch that dial.